All right, how's it going? We are back with another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast.
Booyah!
Yeah! It is Wednesday, and I am sitting in the room with Rex Charger coming back to the studio.
Thanks for having me back again.
Yeah, man. We had some fun last time. We had some laughs. It was an interesting podcast. D-Ray's back behind the glass.
Hello.
Be sure to check her out. She'll be starting her very own new podcast, The Fortress Files. It is located on the website. She'll be talking about all things for the new expansion Vegas Golden Knights. Catch her on Twitter at Fortress Files.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah.
I'll still be here.
We were at the...
things you love hearing women say. Thanks for the plug.
We were at the morning skate this morning, and you got some pretty good shots of the couple players on the team.
Oh, yeah.
When we were up there at the City National Arena in Summerlin, wanted to get the pictures.
Yeah.
And you ever look at like a 6-year-old kid who is just terrified of a person who's like...
Oh, yeah, just deer in headlights?
No.
So I look at her. She looks at me. She's like, I want a picture. And I'm like, you have to use your words. Because the first guy came, signed a couple autographs. She kind of waited her back in the weeds. And he walked away, and she was just...
crestfallen.
She was like the Ross and Rachel. We are so over. Bye by me. The guy just walked away, and I'm like, you got to use your words, D-Ray.
Yep.
The next guy came up. Who was the next guy who came up? Was that Subban, the second guy?
Marchesal.
Oh, yeah, Marchesal came up, and finally she sacked up a little bit.
I was just trying to be polite.
Can I have a picture? Can I have a picture?
He looked like he was busy.
So they do like meet and greet after the skate?
Absolutely.
As they're coming off, they'll come over and sign a couple autographs, kind of kiss some babies, sign some boobs. You know.
How many people are going to these events?
Usually they're a little bit busier. These past 2 days have been a little bit quieter with about 30 to 40 people trickling in and out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice and quiet.
I'd say usually a couple hundred in the beginning, but...
It's definitely cool.
30, 40, 50 is probably...
It's definitely cool to have it open to the public like that. Have
Absolutely.
a chance to see the team up close.
Yeah, they've definitely done a pretty good job interacting with the community.
For sure.
I hope it continues to grow, because it's definitely an interesting thing, especially for Las Vegas. I mean, they've never had a professional sports franchise.
Right.
So for that to be, catching fire, I guess you could say, that's good for the city. And it's good that you are now going to be a part of that with your new podcast. So
yeah, I'm excited.
I wish you well, and congratulations on that. So,
Thank
but we
you.
are not going to talk about Vegas Golden Knights hockey in this podcast any further. We are going to discuss some interesting things that have happened in the last week since you've been not here.
Right.
It's been... I don't know if interesting is the right word. I feel like what's the word I'm looking for? Just chaotic, just organized chaos in all the leagues. You got Eli Manning getting benched in favor of a guy who's been just a train wreck.
Well, sort of getting benched, and then he pulled his little Eli, as I like to call it, whiny punk bitch self move, and decided, no, I don't want us to start the game. I want to play the whole game or not at all. So I'll go to my locker and cry in front of the media. Me.
That is actually a pretty good impersonation.
Eli? Did we invite him in?
He still had a chance. Okay, we'll get into that.
Let's dive into that first.
Okay, all right.
Well, since we've jumped into the deep end, let's go straight into the Eli Manning benching. Yeah, what I've heard is that he was going to start, but probably
keep his streak intact.
Probably be pulled if he plays like Eli Manning's been playing for the last.
Yeah, if he struggled, or if they want to take a look at Gino in the second half.
Right. My thought process on it was, what do you need to see with Geno Smith?
I kind of thought the same thing.
For 4 years with the Jets.
Somebody made a pretty good meme that's been circulating around social media today, and it's the Bills coach, and I can't remember what his name is offhand, but he's going.
Is that Rex Ryan you're talking about?
No, the current
coach.
Yeah. And it's a meme about him benching Taylor, and he's like, I can't believe I benched Taylor. I'm the stupidest coach in the NFL. And then underneath that is a picture of McAdoo that says, "Hold my beer." Watch this.
Yeah, what is his name? I'll get the cracker. I think it's McDermott. But yeah, you're right. Hold my beer. Yeah, McAdoo looks like a guy that would say, "Hold my beer."
Right.
Slick back hair and the pedo mustache. They got a quarterback on the roster, Davis Webb. I believe he's either a rookie or a second year out of Cal. I think he's a second. I think he's a rookie. Excuse me. Why not give him the start?
You would think.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem to make sense. I mean, he's a rookie. Your thought process is we have 5 weeks left in the season.
We got to see what we got on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, Geno Smith.
We know what you got on the shelf.
I think we know what we have with Geno, and he's not even really a backup quarterback at serviceability, in my opinion. So I don't know. My thought process was, and there's still 5 games left, that Davis Webb should be the one kind of getting the nod here to see what you have. Probably don't have anything with him either.
Now, what's with these football players with their names that sound like businesses?
Davis
you get
Webb.
Davis Webb,
Law
Baker
firms.
Mayfield, even Geno Smith. He sounds like a cheesesteak joint.
He is a cheesesteak joint. If his name was Pat Geno, he would be good.
Right.
He would be a good cheesesteak joint. But the question is obviously we know that Eli had a 200 and something game starting streak intact, and I know it would be silly, and Eli said it, he's not going to play if he's not playing the whole game or whatever. But maybe put him out there for a drive and then bring in the rest of the cronies.
That's what they were going to do, but he said nope.
It almost does seem tacky. I mean, I don't know which one is more embarrassing, benching him or trotting him out there for a drive.
Yeah, ceremoniously just to keep the streak intact. Yeah, I think both are probably equally hurtful to him as to his ego as a player. But as far as you can get me started on Eli Manning, and I can go off for.
Well, Eli Manning for the bulk of his career is a terrible quarterback.
Yes, and a whiny punk bitch, which started from when he was. I don't want to go to San Diego. San Diego drafted me, but I'm not going to San Diego.
You do that impersonation really well. I'm impressed.
It's a combination of like a spoiled 5-year-old child and Beaker from the Muppets. That's Eli Manning, kind of in a nutshell.
I can see that in my head, but with all the sexual assault allegations going around, I'm not picturing 5-year-old children. Please trust me on that. I'm not picturing 5-year-old children in my head.
That's not what you said on your hard drive.
Gilligan's Island. Yeah, Eli Manning's, the bulk of his career, minus 2 seasons, has been very mediocre.
Two seasons with 2 fluke plays in the Super Bowl.
They had hot teams. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
they got hot at the right time.
Fan. They got hot at the right time. They beat 2, historically good Patriots teams, and without the exception of David Tyree's ridiculous catch, Manningham's ridiculous catch, and even before Manningham's catch, Wes Welker dropping a pass that hit him square in the face.
Yep.
If Welker catches that, we don't even talk about one of those Super Bowls. If Rodney Harrison goes for the ball, not the head, we're not talking about either of those, and we're not talking about.
You can go so far back, and if the first one, if Brett Favre doesn't throw an interception in overtime in the NFC Championship game,
they're not in it. I hear today when I'm driving around, we were driving to the morning practice over at City National. I hear a lot of people telling me he's a Hall of Famer. I don't buy that.
He probably is because of the
Super Bowls.
The Super Bowls with the body of work. He's been a starting quarterback for a long time. He's racked up a lot of stats. He's got longevity and 2 Super Bowls. That puts him in the Hall of Fame, I think.
But is Plunkett a Hall of Famer?
Plunkett, I don't think had the longevity that we're talking about here as far as games started.
15 years in the starting streak. Does the starting streak really matter?
I think it matters a little bit. I don't know if it matters. If it's kind of probably a bonus, but it's one of those things where because the starting streak helps because it brings, it's like an extra bonus. It's like I don't know what to equate it to, but it's an impressive feat. So that helps, and just the length of the career with the stats has been able to pile up. I mean, just sheer yardage and volume of touchdowns with the 2 Super Bowls. I don't think he doesn't get in without the Super Bowls. And even if he wins 2 Super Bowls, he doesn't get in without the quantity of yardage and touchdowns he's amassed. It's a combination of the 2 things, stats plus Super Bowls.
Does he get in if he only had 1? If he beat the 18-0 Patriots and wins,
it depends on which one it was. If it was that one, yes.
Yeah.
If it was just that one,
I don't know.
If it was just the second one, maybe not as much.
It's just a career. It reminds me of Flacco. I mean, it's a career mired in mediocrity with 1 or 2 6-week stretches where he was serviceable enough to let the defense win him a championship.
It's the 2 and it's the length of that career.
I guess I don't buy it. He's not first ballot, in my opinion. There's no way.
No.
Well, no, I mean, come on, but Yeah, and he's probably still going to play longer. I mean, his career in New York might be over, but he's going to play somewhere next year.
Well, that kind of led me to where I was going with these. Where does he end up at this point? A couple options.
Buffalo, maybe.
I can't.
We were talking about that already.
Yeah, I can't see him going to Buffalo, but you're right. Buffalo could be an option
if they're done with the Tyrod experiment.
They will be. Arizona is another name I've heard floating out there. Arizona would make sense. I mean, Carson Palmer. When do you cut the cord with that experiment? They don't have anything in Drew Stanton and Blaine.
I think Palmer is just nothing left in the tank between his injuries. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what his contract status is, but it's got to be coming up here soon. The Carson Palmer experience has got to be coming to an end.
He could work in Denver.
That's what I was thinking too.
Denver could make sense. Steve, why do you think Denver makes sense?
Well, Peyton was there, and they're not so hot this year with their quarterback.
Yeah, what's his name? Simeon, whatever. You know.
Simmons.
They have Simeon, but I mean, the Paxton Lynch draft pick a couple years ago, he's only had one chance to really show what he could do. I guess you could bring in a veteran. Trevor Simeon's done in Denver.
Yeah, you bring the veteran and let Lynch study under him.
Brock Osweiler has shown that his second tour of duty in Denver is not working.
How many teams can you get cut by in one calendar year? That's what I want to find out. Or how many teams can you be on a roster of in one calendar year? Because Osweiler's going for that record.
Well, he's at 3 right now. So
you're here, you're traded here, then you're cut here to get here.
Yeah. It's amazing when a team gives up things to get rid of you. Like, here, take Osweiler and these picks.
Yeah, just to get this off our books.
Just go away. And, yeah, we'll pay the $17 million. That's like the ultimate long con. That Houston's paying a guy they traded to the Browns who got cut and signed with the Broncos. They're paying that guy $17 million. Right. I'm paying you to go away from the place now that they want you to go away.
Right. It's like if you sell your car and another person buys it from the person that you sold it to, and you're still paying for it.
Right. So Jacksonville has been thrown around. Obviously, Tom Coughlin is in the front office there. The Blake Bortles experiment kind of does this roller coaster up and down every week. 1 week he's great.
Right.
Second week he almost nearly cost them a game. I think last week on Sunday he cost them the game against Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next week he'll come out, game manage, play well enough to win. He's been quite an experiment, an interesting experience to say the least.
Yeah.
Tampa could be a possibility if Jameis isn't the answer. I mean, I guess Jameis is going to get one more year, my guess.
Yeah.
But you could bring him in there, and if Jameis does not come out of the gates hot with all the talent they claim to have,
or bring him in, and then they compete in camp next season.
I mean, there's a couple of places you can go with Eli. I don't think his career is necessarily over. I think he could and probably will be a starting quarterback in the league next year. Washington, if they lose Cousins, it's a flyer.
Yeah, that works.
It's a flyer. It's a get me through. If they end up drafting, one of these quarterbacks in the draft, Rosen-Allen or Darnold, and need some time to develop him, Eli Manning could be a 3-year stopgap.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what the situation is now. Is while it's a win now mentality, and I think Gruden in Washington is going to be that, you got to develop these guys. Not every guy is Andrew Luck, and he's not even a great example. But look at Rodgers. I mean, Rodgers is the example of developing a quarterback.
Yep. He's had 3 years behind Favre, learned the system, learned about the pro game, came out of the gates pretty strong.
I mean, Rodgers, Brady. I mean,
that's why Chicago's another destination for Eli too, because they can let Trubisky learn under him.
Think about that. Yeah, you could do that. That's going to be up to probably the next head coaching administration.
What?
Oh, Fox is gone.
What?
Oh,
he's got 5 more years.
You know what? The way they run that dumpster fire, you might be right. Marvin Lewis keeps getting extensions, for the love of God. But yeah, I mean, the blueprint, NFL is a copycat league, but it seems like on some of the more crucial elements of the league, teams kind of go rogue. You have Brady, you have Breeze, you have Rodgers. Those guys didn't start right out of the gate.
Right.
And they're all Hall of Famers.
Yep.
And they're all the best in the game.
Yep.
And then you got guys like Goff. Goff is turning into, but the first year he was
right.
Not good. He's got a different system, but majority of the time of these guys,
you get thrown into the fire, it's not good.
Yeah, and then once they get film on you, that second go around, they got you. You need to learn how to become a professional athlete. And I think Eli can be a stopgap for some of those programs. I didn't think about Chicago. That's a good one. So we'll see. I mean, Eli Manning.
There's nothing more than I would love for another excuse to hate Eli Manning. So put him on the Bears as a Packers fan. That's even extra gravy for me.
Yeah, I mean, I hate Eli Manning for the fact that 2 stupid, ridiculous catches cost Tom Brady 7 Super Bowls. So I'm right there in the same boat with you. So if you guys want to shit on Eli for another 3 years, please, by all means, Elijah, stay in the league. Let's move on to another NFL topic, which I hate kind of bringing these things to light, but
then don't.
It seems like round 2 of the Talib Crabtree bout.
Tell those morons.
Yeah. The new evidence
especially Crabtree with his helmet off. What are you doing?
That's the first thing.
That's not going to end well.
We say this every time, and nothing's going to change. Is if you're in a fight in the NFL, why are you swinging at a guy who has a fucking metal helmet on? What can you accomplish with that? You can just go straight at his gut. You can take him down, but taking a swing at a guy who has a metal helmet designed to protect against, blunt force collisions is not going to be.
Well, it is.
Punch it.
It's a good way to strengthen up your hands. A couple boxers fractures, get some calluses on there.
Yeah. Okay. My favorite part of this story is the fact that Crabtree said, I guess a couple days ago, he knew that Talib was going to try to snatch his chain, so he taped it to his body.
Okay.
How dumb are you? If you think Talib's going to snatch your chain, maybe you should leave your chain off. Instead of taping it to your body, that when you sweat, now becomes less adhesive.
Right.
I don't know.
And might take some chest hairs with you.
Yeah, that's painful.
Now, this is where we've come to. We're literally discussing yanking someone's chain in the NFL. Literally discussing that right now because of those 2 morons.
D-Ray, you're a Las Vegas resident, obviously. The Raiders are coming here. Would you like to see Crabtree gone before they make their trek down from Oakland?
I think he just needs to straighten up. If he doesn't, then ship him out.
Well, he's had 8 years to try to do that. That hasn't happened.
Yeah.
San Francisco and in Oakland.
We really don't want that kind of behavior.
But it's so prototypical Raiders.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. And that's the thing that scares me is the stigma of what that fan base is. And what scares me is that fan base may come down here or be here already and try to emulate, because LA is not far, 4 hours roughly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of LA Raider fans.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can get a weekend in Vegas and a Raider game, my favorite team, I'm skipping the Rams and their brand new $1 billion dome.
Right.
So the perception of Raider fan is what kind of frightens me being here in Las Vegas is, do I really want to be anywhere near that game day experience?
Nope.
Yeah. I mean,
it's it'd be typical. It's be L.A. and Oakland Raiders fans who are already crazy enough, and then throw them into a city with free booze 24/7.
Yeah.
How's that going to work out?
Jackpot.
The black hole is going to become even blacker and holier.
So, yeah, I mean, my thoughts is Crabtree. I don't want Crabtree over here when 2020 rolls around.
But some part of me kind of wants it. It's like the dumpster fire or the train wreck. You can't look away. It's the Raiders. It's the island of misfit toys.
When it's 500 miles away and I can look away, I can't look away on the screen. But if it's in my backyard, that's where I have the problem. But the suspension originally was 2 games, which when I saw that handed down, I said that it was going to get reduced to 1, and that's subsequently what has happened at this point. Jack Del Rio came out and said that looking at the altercation between A.J. Green and Jalen Ramsey a few weeks back in the Jacksonville-Cincinnati game, they got 0 games for that.
Right.
Both were ejected from the game, but no further suspension. Jack Del Rio looks at this and says, hey, they got 2 games, they got no games. What gives?
That is fair. That's a very fair point.
The issue I have is they got 2 games because this is a continuing drama.
Right.
So you can't put 2 and 2 together. The A.J. Green, Jalen Ramsey was a quick spur of the moment. A.J. did something, Jalen did something that A.J. didn't like, got right on him. I don't condone it.
Right.
But I can see why the ejection was the sufficient punishment.
So I think 1 game was sufficient because, yeah, you are correct that it's an ongoing thing.
I think they did 2 so that because they knew that the appeal would come and they could come down to 1. And they're smarter than
It's like when you get pulled over for going 15 over the speed limit, and the cop writes you up for 7 over.
10, yeah, or whatever. So, I think the suspension was warranted. I mean, neither of these teams are going anywhere. They're not playing any big games the rest of the year. So,
what?
Sit them down. And Talib's a bum.
How do you really feel?
I could say worse words, but I feel like Talib.
You don't want Crabtree in Las Vegas, and Talib's a bum, so you're not a fan of either.
He might find me. Josh Gordon's back.
Is he?
Well, he's back on the practice field. He's scheduled to play this week, and Hugh Jackson made no secret in giving away his game plan because, Cleveland's going to Cleveland and said, we're going to feed him as much as possible. I don't know if they meant pregame spread or if they meant on the field.
Yeah, do they mean edibles? What are they going to feed him?
Yeah, speaking of edibles, the guy made $10K, allegedly. This is what he says. The guy made $10K a week selling weed at Baylor. How fantastic of a story is that?
That's pretty sweet.
Who does that embarrass more? Him? The NCAA? I mean, the fact that this guy, you're not
Both.
paying these athletes. This guy basically said, fine, I'll take matters in my own hands, and is committing illegal activity to make ends meet because, he's an amateur athlete.
Well, to make ends meet, just, selling a quarter ounce here and there. He was a little more than making ends meet.
Yeah, 10K as a college kid not making ends meet. That's an
10K a year as a college kid.
That's an empire in Waco, Texas.
10K a year as a college kid is making ends meet. 10K a week. Woo.
But what good does Josh Gordon have by coming out and having these revelations or telling these truths by saying he drank vodka in high school, sold weed in college, smoked every day? I mean, what?
And look, kids, I can still make the NFL.
Yeah, see, that's my
Believe
issue.
in your dreams.
Yeah, do whatever you want. Because talent, in the end, I've been out of the league for 3 years because I cannot control myself. But if you're good enough, we'll do whatever you want.
You get a second, third, fourth chance.
For the weed situations and everything, I don't have a problem with it. I just think this stuff should not be made public. The Greg Hardys, the Ray Rices of the world, no, get them out. You're beating women or you're committing, a lot of more heinous gun crimes. Yeah, I don't think you deserve these chances. I'm okay with recreational drugs, giving them some more chances. But this just doesn't need to be public because the exact reason you just said. What does that tell the kids? Smoke weed, drink vodka in high school.
Yeah,
and if you're good enough, you're still going to make it.
And it's not like he's just coming to light with this stuff to speak as a cautionary tale. Say, hey, I did this. It was a bad decision. I moved on from that. He's like, I did this.
This is what I did.
Fuck it.
How cool am I?
I kick ass.
Yeah, I can't. This is the problem with the media. As a media, we're glorifying stories like this and having, more issues with, the my cleat, my cause. When somebody wants to put a cause that no one else really agrees with, then we're all up in arms over here. But these are the stories we're glorifying. I don't know. It's just a very puzzling.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy or a chicken and egg situation because the media reports it because there's a market for it.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, and I get it, and I understand how business works, and
the
notion that sex sells, not specifically sex, but that's the cliche. Sex sells, and
yeah, or if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah, it's unfortunate,
and it's one of those things where it's kind of a what the hell is the word I'm looking for? Pessimistic point of view, but the average Joe sports fan likes it when somebody crashes and burns. So they want to hear the stories about the dirt.
Right.
So it's
the same with like Tim Tebow. Everybody wanted to hate him, but he just could not give him a reason to until he played.
Right.
So when everybody played, granted he was not a good quarterback, but the man won a playoff game.
He did win a playoff game.
And they just couldn't wait to just see him fall. And it's just, the guy didn't do anything to you, or harm you, or harm anyone.
Except for this terrible taste. That was pretty harmful.
Terrible taste?
Yeah.
In what?
In end zone moves.
Kneeling?
The Tebowing, yeah.
Well, what's wrong with Tebowing?
Man.
How is it any different than what they're doing during the national anthems at this point?
What's that?
How is kneeling to pray before a game different?
Oh, no, I'm not equating it to that or anything. It was just a little pious.
So I'm reading here. Let's flip back to Manning for a second. And it says that he's mentoring Davis Webb after being benched. I'm reading an article here.
He did mention that he was going to be, I'm going to be a good teammate and I'm going to help him out.
But Geno's the starter. Why are we not mentoring him?
Because he's already on top of his game. Doesn't need any mentoring.
Is that so?
He's Geno Smith.
Yeah,
Geno's. I'm going to give you a little.
The Giants going to get an NAACP call. Be like, look, he ain't helping the brother.
I'm going to give you a little Geno Smith prediction for this weekend. He's got 27 out of 33, 314, 3 touchdowns, passer rating 146.
I will take the under on all those.
Yeah.
I will take the far under on 314. 1 touchdown.
Geno Smith passing touchdowns this weekend. Over under 0.5.
Who do they play? I'll get it here. Let me pull it up. The Giants, Los Gigantes, are scheduled to square up against Oakland. Oh, well, Crabtree's out, so.
Yeah.
I'll take the over on half a touchdown.
Yeah, he'll toss one.
Does it have to be in the air, or can he scramble?
Oh, just pure passing touchdown.
I'll still take the over.
Over under 1.5 interceptions.
Considering Oakland has 0 interceptions as a team on defense this year, I'll play the under.
That's a fair point.
I will play the under.
But nothing gets your defense healed up like playing Geno Smith. It's a get right game for the Oakland D.
Yeah. So I don't know. That kind of struck me that they're mentoring Davis Webb when Geno's ready to take snaps on Sunday with the first team. I guess Geno's enough of a consummate pro that he doesn't need the help. I guess. I mean, I don't know. To me, it
seems odd. But I guess he does have the game experience. I guess he does not he needs to be prepared for in-game situations.
A-Rod's back. You're A-Rod. Saw him throwing last week.
Oh, yeah.
50, 60-yard bombs on a broken collarbone.
Yep.
5 weeks after surgery?
Yeah, just about 6 weeks. Yeah, the surgery is October 14th or something?
That's not human.
Nope. I hope the Packers don't try to rush him back just to try to squeak into some shitty wild card spot. It's just way too big of a risk for a team that's not going to do anything in the postseason anyway.
Well, and a rational fan, you're right. But is your fan base rational at this point, seeing what they see on the field? I mean, they played Pittsburgh. Well, they played Pittsburgh well.
It's different. It's different from the last time this happened. When
they're 5-6 right now, right?
Yeah.
So they're still technically, mathematically, pretty alive
for a wild card spot for sure. Because the Vikings pretty much had the division locked up.
Right. But I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, the Falcons are 6-5.
Yeah, the Packers are 8th or 9th seed right now, and you have 6 playoff teams, so they're a game or 2 out of a playoff spot. And yeah, the team did play pretty well in Pittsburgh the other night, but it's way too big of a risk for very minimal upside.
I don't disagree with that because I think there's a lot more issues than just Aaron Rodgers. And we talk about you say Aaron Rodgers masks a lot of
the flaws and
ineptitudes.
Yeah, and
the team, but
it's a totally different situation than when he was out with the other collarbone in 2013 on his non-throwing shoulder. So he could come back a little more quickly because it wasn't his throwing shoulder. And that year, the division was so poor, he came back with 1 game left in the regular season and won the division. And then they hosted a home playoff game.
Right.
So that was a little different. You actually get to win a division. This is going to be try to bring him back and struggle for a wild card.
So we punt the season at this point.
I think so. Because he's IR, so he can't even come back to week 15 anyway.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
So it's not even if he's healthy right now, he couldn't come back anyway.
Right. He can't come back.
And they were talking about that the other day. He said he hasn't even looked at the X-rays yet because either it's healing well and he can't do anything because he can't play yet, or it's not healing well and doesn't want to know about it.
Yeah. And either way, it's not going to.
Right. It's a negative free roll. So as a Packer fan and just an NFL fan in general, there's no upside to bringing him back this season.
Fair enough. Yeah, because you're right. I mean, the division, Vikings have the division. Wild card, 6 wild card team is 7. Their second wild card team is 7-4, and that's the Falcons. So
yeah,
it'd be tough to get back in there, and
especially after they've already lost a head-to-head matchup to the Falcons.
Yeah.
So even if they finish the season with the same record, they're still out.
So they're technically they're 3 games back of the Falcons at this point. So looking at the slate of games this weekend, there are some interesting gambles that I kind of like. Anything you see on the slate that would be of your fancy?
Like the Patriots -10.
Yeah, the Patriots are a hard team to bet because at one point, you look at them, the train keeps rolling. So they're at Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Correct.
So Tyrod will probably be back in because the Nathan Peterman experience is over.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills are a weird team.
Yeah, they're so hot and cold. I mean, first they were 5-2, and now they're 6-5.
Yeah, and Brady's usually pretty dominant, but if he's going to lose to the Bills, he loses in Buffalo.
Right.
So that's a spot where they won 8 in a row now, I think, 7 or 8 in a row. The 10's a lot to lay.
On the road, yeah.
On the road. I would take Buffalo, but I still think New England's gonna win.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't go to the window with that pick because I've already got too much emotionally invested in that game. But I would lean Buffalo with the 10 points.
I would as well, just the fact that it's in Buffalo. Then game 2 is a pick'em. Buccaneers at Packers.
We were just talking about the Packers.
Yeah. Pick'em.
Brett Hundley versus the Ryan Fitzpatrick.
In Green Bay. Buccaneers are 4-7, Packers are 5-6.
Well, the last Green Bay Lambeau Field experience we saw was them not scoring.
Yeah.
So what's the total on that game?
44.
Yeah. So 44 is the total. I would lean on the under with that game.
Those two teams right now, yes.
I would lean on both teams.
Although that's what everybody said last week with Green Bay and Pittsburgh. It was like, oh, Pittsburgh in the under, and then the two teams put up, 59 points.
Tampa Bay's defense not half bad, but their offense does not follow suit.
Yeah.
In that situation, Green Bay, I'll take Green Bay with the pick.
And to pick them at home, yeah.
Yeah, because what the problem is they're telling me that Tampa Bay's 3 points better, but give me the Green Bay Packers at home with the under in that spot. I'll probably bet that.
I like that. I concur with you on both sides of that one. Here's something you don't see too often. Dallas as a home dog against the Skins.
Well,
Skins -2.
I think
we haven't seen Dallas as a home dog too much.
That game's tomorrow.
Especially against a divisional rival.
Sure. I think it's a bit of an overreaction from all the things. I think Dallas played pretty poorly the last 3 weeks. They haven't scored 10 points.
Yeah, their offenses look pretty miserable since the Elliott suspension.
What's the total on that?
Total on that one is 45.
I'd play the over on that one. I think Washington could get 30 by themselves, and I think Dallas would be good for 17 points.
Really?
I think Dallas would be
even after that game against the Chargers on Thanksgiving.
Right. However, what I'm saying is they're good for 17. Washington could be good for 30. I think it's the high scoring shootout, and Dallas wins.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Dez Bryant has to get separation. I'm hoping that Josh Norman covers either him or Williams on the other side, and Dak actually finally has a fuck you game for the haters.
So you're gonna bet Dallas plus the points, or you're just gonna bet a money line?
I'd probably still take the points because I'm a little chicken. Because, well, let's face it, we've a 3-week sample size of what Dallas has accomplished. The last month is not very pretty. So,
William Hill's got a line change that just happened. They've got Skins only -1, and then
it's essentially a pick. And then -1 game, I'd take the money line because I'm going to get some juice taken away.
And then the total's gone up a half point. It's 45.5.
I'd still play the over on that one.
Sounds like people are going what you're saying. The over's going up and the Skins are coming down.
Yeah, I think it's Dallas in the over. I think it's Dallas 30-27 kind of range.
And then, if you want the Cowboys money line, that's even. Skins money line is -120.
Yeah. Then you got what I think is the game of the week, and that's Minnesota and Atlanta. Atlanta's laying a field goal.
Yeah, this is a must-win game as far as the Packers are concerned for playoff implications.
Well, yeah, because
they're already the second wild card. They can't drop another game.
They're the 3 teams. The NFC South has 3 teams in the playoff race right now. And the Saints at 8-3, have shown that they are falling back to earth. They're human again.
Right.
So if Atlanta can get a home victory here, which, they haven't been that great at the new Mercedes-Benz, I think...
which is kind of odd, because they were so dominant in the Georgia Dome for so long.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing.
And this is essentially the same core of a team that was in the Super Bowl last year, and it's...
I'd like to think
a little Super Bowl hangover.
I'd like to think that, don't get me wrong, Minnesota's a good team, but I don't think they're 9-2 good. You know what I mean? I don't think they're 9.
I concur. And you asked me that last week when we were talking about it, and you said, is Minnesota the NFC favorite? And I said, no. I said they're good, but they're probably not quite as good as they appear right now.
Starting to fall back. I'm starting to fall on your side of the fence on that one. I think that the running game with Murray and McKinnon hasn't been like great. It's been serviceable. But at some point, I mean, Case Keenum has been around this league pretty mediocrely for 7 years.
Right.
At some point,
it's been 7 years already.
6 or 7.
Wow.
I remember watching him at Houston and thinking he was going to be fantastic.
Right.
And maybe it just took him that long to get into it. But I think at some point, Case Keenum's going to feel the pressure of, oh my gosh, I'm on a good team, and I'm the leader of that good team.
And then it'll collapse, and then Bridgewater will be ready to come back.
Let's see. Case Keenum's in his 6th year.
So which side are we liking here?
I am going to...
Falcons underperforming at home, and laying 3 points.
I am going to lay my money on the Falcons.
Then the total of that's 47.5.
Don't like it either way. I feel like both teams have solid defenses and solid offenses.
Right.
I'd hate having to rely on both teams to do one or the other. So I would like to see, with laying 2.5, I like having that hook there with the home team. You know, I would just take my field goal game and go. You know.
Yeah, for me, I probably, because the way you said it with both teams having strengths on both sides of the ball, I like doing the teaser here. I like taking the Vikings +9 and over 41.5.
See, it could be 23-20. I think that's a nice solid game. So I think it'll be close.
If I had to pick a side, I would take the Falcons -3 at home.
Do the Falcons start Muhammad?
In a game they have to win.
Do the Falcons start Mohamed Sanu at quarterback, though?
What?
He went 1 for 1 for 50-something yards.
Yeah, so he's got a 158.3 passer rating. Yeah. I saw Matt Ryan was joking about that in the funky vest he was wearing in his press conference the other night. And he's like, well, he's going to take my job, blah, blah, blah. But,
did you see the Monday night football game, Ravens and Houston? Did you watch that one at all?
I watched a very little bit of it.
I wasn't watching. I was watching the hockey game, but I was thumbing through Twitter. I guess Ravens punter Sam Koch, or Cock, however you say his name. It's probably Koch. That's probably Cock.
Or Coke.
Or Coke. Threw a 22-yard fake punt. And I forget who it was that said I think the Ravens just found their franchise quarterback. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? So I look back and Coke or Cock Coke.
So instead of Flacco beating Cock, it's now Cock beats Flacco.
Cock beats Flaccid, yeah.
Zinger! Heyo! Here's something you don't see every day.
What is that?
Chargers -1,000 money line.
Oh my god. Chargers -1,000.
Hosting the Browns.
Playing the Browns in Los Angeles.
Yeah, they're at
in Carson, California, the StubHub Center, a glorified high school stadium.
But is that not Los Angeles County?
It is.
Okay, so
I was just getting specific.
Just fuck off a minute.
It's part of the greater metropolitan Los Angeles area, yes.
I got your greater metropolitan Los Angeles area right here. This to me feels like a Floyd Mayweather bet. And I know you're looking at me like, what the fuck is that?
Oh, it's so much. I know exactly what you mean.
The Chargers are going to win this game.
Right.
So you fire a brick on that money line.
Mm-hmm.
And just
for minimal return.
And hit the window in 3 hours.
Yeah.
So that to me is a Floyd Mayweather bet. 2 touchdowns. I still think they're not good enough to lay that. So if we're ATS-ing it, give me the Browns.
Oh, for sure.
Give me the Browns on the other side. Give me the Browns on the other side, 14.5. And I'll take Floyd Mayweather money to the cage and hit that 1,000.
It looks like it's moved a little bit, and people are on the Browns side because now it's down to 13.5.
Is it? Okay.
Yep.
My lines right here are it's the Yahoo Sports, but if you look at their stats and info, I believe it's Vegas Insiders offshore odds. So I go with what they give me. But you're right, William Hill.
I would definitely, if you get the extra point for sure.
Well, yeah, that would make me feel a lot better, especially if I'm taking Cleveland on that side. That's game of the week material right there. Cleveland and LA. So you had Denver and Miami. Another pick'em of teams who are just train wrecks. You care to have a comment on that one?
What do you mean Miami train wreck? What are you talking about? Jay Cutler's there to save the day.
Yeah, but he's hurt.
Yeah, I know. That's why he's saving the day. He's out of the game.
By not playing? Hey, that's my quarterback, man. That's my quarterback. I'm talking about my quarterback. I'll take the home team on that one because they both they suck.
Yeah, that's like punishment. Like, you have to watch this game. That's your punishment.
God forbid you're in the Southeast and CBS is forcing that one down your throat if you don't have DirecTV. Thank God for DirecTV Sunday Ticket. San Francisco, Chicago's another one I don't think I'll be tuning into.
Who cares?
If Garoppolo gets the start, which I believe he's going to, give me San Francisco on the road with the field goal. I'll take that.
Yeah, I gotta go with you on that side, yeah.
You have Kansas City, and they're 6-5. They're on a slide, for lack of a better word.
And they're heading to the new Meadowlands, whatever they call it, Life, whatever.
They have let these teams, LA and Oakland, back in the race.
Oh, for sure. They were so dominant the first 5 weeks of the season, and then just gradually ticking down a little bit. Still being competitive, still winning the game, ticking down a little bit in production, allowing some more yardage on defense. It's just like some kind of weird little gradual decline. But over the last 4 weeks, cumulatively, it's a pretty big decline.
It's like a bar of soap. They just can't seem to hold on to it. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And they've now let the AFC West become a 3-horse race. But I think they're getting lucky in the fact that they're walking into a situation that they've a must-win and they're getting a cupcake.
Yeah.
Now, when I say cupcake, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe more of a apple turnover.
Yeah, they gave Carolina a little bit more than they could handle last week. But all in all, the Kansas City Chiefs should win this game. It's a must-win, right?
It has to be now. Yeah, I mean, they dropped some games they should have won.
The Chargers get Cleveland, and the Oakland gets the Giants.
Yep.
2 winnable games. I believe they're both at home for those respective franchises. Yes, they're both at home. Kansas City has to go on the road. If Kansas City goes 6-6, do we get the Pat Mahomes treatment here?
It could be.
I think you gotta.
Yeah.
So for the sake of Alex Smith, screw the points, give me the money line, whatever it is. I can't rely on the field goal, but I believe Kansas City's going to win.
The field goal on the road is such a hard thing to ever bet when you're betting a road favorite. It's ticked up now 3.5, which makes it even worse. Money line Chiefs minus 175.
If I had to lay, I would say Kansas City's going to cover 3.5. I think Alex Smith has to find a way to win this game convincingly, because even if he wins by 1, the questions are still going to come.
Right.
We can't even beat the Jets by more than a point. You know, the Jets have been close. We've lost 5 out of the last 6.
Yeah.
You know, we can't even. Something's got to change, and that's. I think if I had to lay, I would lay on Kansas City. But right now, the way they play, I don't feel like I could put my money on the points. I will pick them to win, so give me the money line on that one. I'd play the under at 44. I don't think the Jets are going to get any points on that defense.
Yeah, that should be pretty low scoring. I concur with you on that one. Now, we were talking before about something you don't see very often, the Chargers being a minus 1,000 favorite. Here's something else you don't see very often. Maybe a little more common now that they're actually having a winning season, but Jaguars minus 9.5. When was the last time you saw the Jags as a 9.5 point favorite?
They were 9.5 against Cleveland, too.
Yeah, okay.
On the road.
Take away the Browns, and then when was the last time the Jaguars were a 9.5 point favorite against anybody? 1996 when they went to the AFC Championship.
the Byron Leftwich era. Yeah, it's probably been a while since this year.
That was the Mark Brunell era back then.
96. Well, I'm talking about probably during the Byron Leftwich era. They were probably favored against some teams.
The Browns.
The Brownies. D-Ray, you got Blake Bortles versus Jacoby Brissett. Blake's laying 9.5 in Jacksonville.
I would go with Brissett.
You take the Indianapolis Colts on the road?
Yep.
Catching 9.5 is a big number.
It is a big number. Indianapolis has been a funny team this year because when Gore can run, they can stay in game.
Yeah, and they've shown that they can score.
Right. I can't touch that game. If you're forcing a gun to my head, play the over 40.
If you're putting the gun to my head, I'm teasing it. So I'm taking the Colts plus 15.5 and over 34.5.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I don't like either side of the line. I don't trust the Colts at 9.5 getting 9.5, and I don't trust the Jags to cover 9.5.
Let's run through the rest of these couple of the slates. Just your initial thoughts. Detroit and Baltimore. Baltimore 6-5. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they are a playoff team. And I would be correct. They're 6-5. They are the second wild card.
Yeah.
they are laying points. They're a strange team. They've shut out teams and they've looked like a dumpster fire all in the same season.
Right.
So your
all in the same game even.
Yeah.
They look like a dumpster fire when they shut out the Packers.
Yeah. So your initial thoughts, Baltimore laying just under a field goal with the hook.
I like the Lions getting 3.
Yeah, me too. I like that one. I think
they're a more balanced team. They're essentially they're saying it's a pick because of the home field advantage 3 points, but I like the Lions for sure as a more quality team.
Yeah, I think the Lions have more to prove, and Matt Stafford.
And the Lions are 1 game out of the wild card, so they're still legitimately fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, Matt Stafford will get the job done there. I think give me 2.5 points. I'll take the Lions. You got Carolina, New Orleans is another interesting game. Battle for first place in NFC. New Orleans is laying 5.
It's in New Orleans. Are they going to bounce back after cooling off a little bit last week? I say yes. Probably go with them laying the points because it's in New Orleans.
I'll take the Panthers to cover, New Orleans to win by 2 or 3.
Okay.
So what's the total in that game? Because it's got to be high.
48.
48. I think you got to play the over in that game.
Indoors, those 2 teams, yeah.
I mean, statistically, historically, it's going to be an over game. LA, the Rams, and Arizona. LA's laying 7.5, depending on where you look. I think LA looks to continue. The Blaine Gabbert experience is very average at best.
Right.
So give me the touchdown. If it's the touchdown, I'll lay it. The hook, I'll balk, but I'll probably still lay 7.5 on the road.
That's it. If you get it at 7.5, that's a perfect candidate for a long teaser.
So this one's weird. Philadelphia laying a touchdown in Seattle. Is Seattle still Seattle?
No.
Why?
Well, half the Legion of Boom is out. They're not playing as well offensively, nearly as close as they were in years
Can their
past.
fans make up for that?
No, because they had the fans before. the fans are a controlled element. The fans were there before. The fans are there now. So it's just solely on the team being as good as they were, and they are not.
Philly's got to cool off at some point, though, right?
Do they?
I mean,
do they?
Nobody has to, but I mean, I guess at some point, I'm not saying they're going to lose this game, but that's still this year a tough place to go play.
Oh, it's still a tough place to play, and Seattle is still a decent team. They're just not like Seattle that we're thinking of in like 2013, 2014, 2015 Seattle.
Well, I'm going to take Russell Wilson in primetime games. I'm going to sack up, and I'm going to take Seattle money line.
You can get plus 200 on that right now.
Yeah, give me that right now. Seattle money line.
That's the upset special of the week right there.
I think so. I think something's not right about that line.
I'm not going to go quite as ballsy as you are. I would take Seattle with the points. I'll take them catching 6 at home.
And then we got the Monday night game, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Pittsburgh laying 5. Total 43. So that one I probably won't watch, but it's always usually a close game. I'll take the 5 points and take the Bengals.
Yeah, I would probably do the same, being in Cincinnati. Because
that's, to me, is a straight bet on the Bengals with a teaser option on Pittsburgh down to a win.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 kind of odds.
This is the game. This is the game where the Bengals perform well, and this is the game where Marvin Lewis gets to stick around for another year. Because they look at it and go, "Oh, we beat the Steelers. We're still right there on the cusp."
So week 13 is the Marvin Lewis contract extension.
The Marvin Lewis redemption game. Yep.
Shit. I wish I had a job that easy.
And so then when the Bengals get in the playoffs and they lose the first wild card game, then but we beat the Steelers.
We beat the Steelers in week 13. Don't you freaking forget it.
Exactly.
All right, well, that will run down the slate of week 13 games. We will post our picks up on the website or on Twitter. Let's move on to college. And I know you haven't read anything about this, but you should. And if you're listening out there, you should really be following this because I can't get enough of it. We were sitting at lunch today, and I'm on my phone, and D-Ray hates it when I'm on my phone during lunch. And just watching coach after coach be like, nope, fuck this shit. What was once a storied franchise, they're now dumpster diving into Purdue.
Yep, they've
didn't even get him.
It's their own fault. It's been a 9-year downward spiral since they fired Phil Fulmer.
Has it been that long? Wow.
They fired him after the 08 season.
They've had Lane Kiffin, Derek Dooley, Butch Jones. Is that it?
That's it.
It just seems like there's been more.
Yeah. So an average of 3 years with each of those three guys.
The thing that made me chuckle this morning, I was listening to Dan Patrick, and they had Lane Kiffin on and asked him about his interest in Tennessee, like as the ultimate troll job.
Yeah.
Like, would Tennessee have to put their tail between their legs
and say, Lane,
and
please
say,
come back.
Lane Kiffin, please come back to Knoxville and coach? Good God. I mean, they're not wrong. Pre-coaching search, the facilities, the amount of money, the boosters, the donors should attract a high-quality coach.
Absolutely.
I think the delusions of grandeur with this John Gruden, just everyone was just had him locked up. I mean, they were just...
You could kind of compare the Tennessee fan base to the Cowboys fan base in the NFL. It's two organizations that have been underperforming for a while now, but the fan base still expects them to be top tier at all times.
Right, and I get that, and that was what happened with Texas A&M when they fired Kevin Sumlin. I mean, you aren't what you think you are.
Yeah.
But at least Tennessee had a little more clout than A&M. Tennessee's won a national title. Tennessee competed 20 years ago. Tennessee competed all the way up until, 10 years ago with Fulmer. Excuse me.
And this year, it's not competing at a new level. They went winless in the SEC.
Yeah, that's a new low.
Yeah.
But when I see Mike Gundy turn you down, you couldn't make a deal with the Purdue coach. Now they're looking at the NC State coach, Dave D. We'll go with that. How do you explain this new era where Schiano had a handshake agreement?
Even slightly more. A memo of understanding.
Yeah. He'll get a buyout from that, I'd assume. $50, $100K or something like that. But how do you explain this age we live in where, and I know teams do it. They'll leak a guy, see the fan reaction. But how do you leak a guy post-agreement?
And then rescind it. You're supposed to leak that before you send them the memo of understanding.
Well, John Curry's the athletic director. He's fired one way or the other. Right?
Done. Yeah.
So if you're going to be fired, stay with Schiano.
Yeah.
I mean, Schiano's not bad. These ties and these allegations to Sandusky, they were 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're based purely on one speculative comment.
Right.
No one has any proof. But it just goes to show you that if a fan base of probably not donors, I would imagine 90% of the people on Twitter, 99% of the people who are on Twitter, fired shots at Schiano, do not donate to this program.
For sure.
So while a lot of people said Twitter was the one that got Schiano fired, I have a feeling there had to be something
way
coming from a bigger, deeper pocket.
Yeah.
Jimmy Haslam, owner of the Browns, is the biggest, deepest pocket.
Yep.
And he apparently, according to Curry, helped make this decision. So you can't tell me Twitter's the one that got Schiano fired.
No.
There's something deeper than that, right?
For sure. It always comes down to the money.
So let's look at it. Going forward, there's been a string of coaches that said, hail to the no. Why not just hire T. Martin? He's been asking, from what I understand, he's been looking at the coaching job. He's the last guy to win a national title, and if I'm not mistaken, he might be the only guy. He did what Peyton Manning couldn't do. He's a god in Knoxville. You want to appease the fans. You've already taken Greg Schiano food off of his plate.
And he fits so well. I mean, besides being his alma mater, there's another school in the system already named after him. There's UT Martin.
There you go. That could be his transfer grounds. But, I mean, they're not looking at T. Martin. They're not looking at Norville from Memphis, who's having a great year as well. So what are you doing? I mean, Purdue? You're an SEC franchise. Maybe just what they did with Schiano, just everybody said, why would I want to go there?
Yep. So now
am I good enough to go there?
And so now you might have to reach a little deeper to get somebody who'll take a chance, and because everyone's skeptical now of going there after the fiasco with Schiano.
Right.
Like,
and I thought Schiano was the perfect hire.
Do I want to work at a job where they offer me the job and then somebody bitches and then I don't have the job? Do I want to work for that fickle of a program?
I mean, Tennessee. Mike Gundy turned down Tennessee's offer. I believe it was $6.5 to $7 million a year.
That's crazy.
So what is it going to take at this point?
Yeah.
It's got to be T. Martin or Peyton Manning.
Something.
It's got to be a Tennessee guy at this point. Would Fulmer consider coming back to just slow the bleeding?
That would be a great move on their part. That would appease everyone. He could probably right the ship a little bit and then turn over the reins to someone he could mentor for a year or two.
Yeah, I think one of those three.
That's a very good
Fulmer.
That's a very good stopgap move.
Yeah, Fulmer, Martin, or Manning. It's not going to be Manning. I'm just saying he makes sense.
So I met Phil Fulmer in high school as well.
When he was in high school, or when you were in high school?
When I was in high school, because I actually graduated high school in the state of Tennessee, and I went to high school and played with Al Wilson, who was the defensive captain on their national championship team, and then first round pick of the Broncos the next year. And Fulmer actually came to our school on a recruiting visit for Al Wilson, he was a huge deal because Tom Osborne came from Nebraska, Phil Fulmer came, and Fulmer was actually took time out of his day to chat with a bunch of students at the high school while he was on a recruiting trip. So it was
that's pretty cool.
He was a really nice guy, and then they just got more successful after that because that would have been in fall of '94, and then obviously
10-year-old
won the championship in '98.
94. I was 7 years old.
Well, yeah, okay, so I was 17. I was not that old.
Fucking geezer. Before we wrap up here, let's move on. Stay in college. Just a little tidbit I found interesting. The fans at the Iron Bowl, Auburn versus Alabama in Auburn, stormed the field after the win, and sure, rightfully so, causing $250,000+ in damage.
There's a lot of landscape work that needs to be done there after all those chubby chicks fell in the bushes. Did you see him wait with everyone? It was guys, girls, everybody.
Toomer's corner. Yeah. Does this? I mean, it leads back to the old storm in the court question. Is what $250,000? What the hell did they break?
Yeah, besides some bushes.
Yeah. They said the sod was just irreparable.
If that actually is probably the most expensive item on the budget.
I just thought that was an interesting little nugget. I remember.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw the figure.
I remember when I was in college, we took the goalpost down at UCF after they won Conference USA title,
and that was probably $1,500.
Yeah, but for the longest time, I don't know where it is now. I still had a piece of that goalpost.
Really?
Yeah. When I moved away from Florida, I don't know where it went, but it was a pretty cool memento. Just
for sure,
kind of sitting in my room. But yeah, it's not $250,000. Right? If it was, then holy shit. They might still be looking out for me.
It's got to be the field. Has got to be the biggest.
Yeah.
I guess the bushes, whatever, you can fix that with some seed and a guy with the hedge clippers. But the field is actually a big deal. But still, $250 seems pretty high.
Seems high. Yeah. It's got to be that new turf or the field condition. It's got to be expensive. But I don't know anything about all that stuff. So I just
what kind of surface is it there?
I believe it's grass.
Yeah.
A lot of the SEC fields are still grass. It's just the numbers struck me when it jumped off the page. $250,000. Yeah. There had to be some more than just some bushes dying. Quick before we wrap up here, what are your thoughts on college football championship weekend? Any games you're interested in watching? I know obviously the Big Ten title game will be on your radar.
You mean the game that's at 5:15 on Saturday from Lucas Oil?
That's the one.
Oh yeah, the game that I'm probably going to go to. Yeah,
really?
Yep.
Do tell.
Well, flights are cheap as hell, and I got a buddy in Indiana who'll pick me up at O'Hare. I can get a round trip to O'Hare for $53. So you can score tickets for a little bit over face for $100 or so.
5:15 Central Time?
5:15 our time. 7:15. No, Indianapolis is Eastern Time, so 8:15 in India.
8:15 Eastern Time. So that's interesting. I kind of want to go to that. How much are tickets? Probably in the 200 range.
No, a little over 100. They're face value for $79 or something, and they're on the resale market for $110ish.
Nice.
Right, that's for the cheap seats, for end zone, upper deck. But
no, Wisconsin wins that game. They're in. That's clear and evident.
Yeah.
But looking at the playoffs and how everything's so subjective, if Ohio State does to Wisconsin what they did 3 years ago, 59-0.
Correct.
You put Ohio State in the playoff. You're putting Auburn in as a 2-loss champion if they win against Georgia. You're putting Ohio State in as a 2-loss champion.
That comes down to the question, do they get in ahead of a 1-loss Alabama?
And that's where I come in. If you can't make or win your conference or make your conference title game, I don't think you're a playoff team. Now, granted, Alabama's a fantastic team. I just think there's certain parameters to say, hey, look, this is where you play. If you can't make that title game, you don't deserve to make this title game. That's me. I mean, I
kind of lean towards
I'm in the minority in that.
I kind of lean towards that sentiment as well. But if
Ohio State's already rewarded him once, that 3 years ago with Cardale.
Right.
Put him in as number 4, all of this hoopla, and they won the damn thing.
But what the committee's never done is there's never been a 2-loss team in the playoff yet.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Alabama beating Georgia could justify putting I'm sorry. Let me back up. Auburn beating Georgia can justify Ohio State beating Wisconsin and putting 2-loss conference champions in.
Auburn for sure. Ohio State's resume is not as impressive as Auburn's. Ohio State lost to the best team they played this year. Auburn beat 2 number 1s. It was in 3 weeks.
So let's put it this way. Clemson, Oklahoma, and Wisconsin.
It's number 1 is Western Kentucky. No, here's why.
Okay. Do tell. We have another hour.
Western Kentucky.
I can't wait to hear this.
Western Kentucky beat Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State beat Syracuse. Syracuse beat Clemson. Western Kentucky is number 1. That's as far back as I extrapolate. I was going to go further. I was going to go well, so who beat Western Kentucky? I was going to go through that too.
Well, Middle Tennessee State plays in Conference USA where Marshall resides.
Right.
Marshall used to have a rivalry with UCF when UCF was in Conference USA.
Okay, so now you're just stretching.
Marshall lost to UCF, who actually beat Middle Tennessee State this year. So UCF is in the playoff at 11-0.
I'd buy that over. I'd buy that over a lot of the stuff.
Shit, put me on a committee. I love committees. I can do this.
The Clemson. I mean, yes, Clemson is probably one of the top 4 teams in the country, but that Syracuse loss still sticks in my craw.
Me too. And the thing is if Miami...
You're going to put Clemson in as the number 1 seed, and Alabama doesn't get in when Alabama lost on the road to Auburn.
To the number 16 at the time, but number 2 team
yeah. Right now. Alabama's one loss is a rivalry game against a top 10 team. And
right.
now it's like a top 2 team.
I don't disagree with the fact that Alabama's one of the best 4. I just think that if subjectively you're going to...
I just hope Miami beats Clemson in the ACC championship game, and then all the Clemson talk's null and void. That's what I'm rooting for personally.
I've heard situations where Clemson might stay in too with that, so it's going to be weird. This is the first year. And
let's say Miami wins, so they're in.
Okay.
Let's say Ohio State beats Wisconsin.
Right.
2-loss Ohio State gets in before a 2-loss Clemson because of Clemson's bad loss to Syracuse. Ohio State lost to Oklahoma.
Right, and Iowa.
And
bad
Iowa.
losses. I understand they're ranked. They're still 2 bad losses.
No,
they got beat by 3 touchdowns in each of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, it's the score of the individual game.
It's not as bad as Syracuse
right.
when Kelly Bryant didn't play. And trust me, I'm not a Clemson advocate. They're what they would put on the field in the playoff was not on the field against Syracuse. No excuse, you should still win that game. And it was a close game. And believe me, I don't think Clemson should be in either, and nor do I think Miami should be in. I think if you're talking about the best 4 teams, you don't lose to 5 and 7 opponents. So, I think Ohio State's 2 losses are better than Clemson's and Miami's 1 loss.
I don't know if I go that far.
Oklahoma's a playoff team. Iowa's a ranked team.
They were, not anymore.
Well,
they're 7-5. 7-5.
The committee always wants to say at the time they played.
They finished 7-5.
Syracuse is not a ranked team, nor I believe they are the last place team in the ACC.
In their division. They're not the worst in the conference, they're worse in the division.
I'll check that. Check the ACC standings. Well, I know Pitt's in the ACC, so one of those 2, both of those teams are 5 and 7.
Yeah, it's because of the 2 divisions.
Right. The worst team might actually be Duke. But either way, I just think I don't think either of them should be in there, but the Power 5 bias, one of them is going to be in. So you have winner of the ACC, winner of the SEC, and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to beat TCU, I would assume.
Well, Oklahoma was supposed to beat Iowa State at home too, so it's hard to say it's a lock.
You got ACC champ, you got SEC champ. Everything else loses. Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and then you have Georgia, and then you have Georgia would lose if Auburn won. So you have your 2 shoo-ins. You have ACC champ and SEC champ.
And Georgia's only 2 losses would be to Auburn.
Yes. So then what? You have your 2. 1 and 2. Fair enough.
Yep.
ACC, SEC. But then what? That's where I just get.
I say Ohio State, a 2-loss Ohio State Big Ten winner gets in way before a 2-loss TCU Big 12 winner.
Okay. Fair enough. That's fine. But then
because one of them's got to get in.
The 2-loss TCU Big 12 winner get over Alabama?
No. I like Alabama. TCU has to win the Big 12 and hope for a complete cluster of everything else.
But that was the cluster.
Hope that like Wisconsin, Ohio State ends in like a stadium implosion, or neither of them.
I would hope. So.
Or neither of them.
I would hope not if you're going to be at the game. Yeah, it's going to be a weird Saturday. This is where I have a problem because this is where subjectivity comes out in full force versus facts, stats, computer rankings. And I've been saying it for weeks on this podcast. Computers need to determine the playoff seedings.
I loved your idea when you first mentioned that. The playoffs needs to be 8 teams.
Sure. Because I agree with that. We don't have that right now, though.
But if you have 8 teams, then the best 5 or 6 are getting in, and 7 and 8 aren't nearly as consequential.
Right, and 9 you can't.
Because this year you've got 5, 6, 7 viable teams.
Well, here, let me throw you a wrinkle.
So if you have an 8 team,
if we have what happens, and USC wins the Pac-12, they're a 2-loss Pac-12 team,
right? Jumping
from I think 9. Do they get in?
It's possible.
It's going to be a wild weekend.
Like, who do you take in that spot? Let's say there's room for TCU or USC. Who gets in? If they both win their championship games this weekend.
TCU's losses are
other people fall apart.
State and Oklahoma, right?
Yep.
2 ranked opponents, whereas USC's losses are to Washington State.
Ranked.
And, God, I'm drawing a blank on their second loss. I want to say
UCLA.
I want to say it's Notre Dame, actually. No, they beat UCLA.
Oh, sorry, they came back and won that game. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they came back and beat. I want to say it's to Notre Dame, Washington State, and Notre Dame, who are both still currently ranked. I mean, Pac-12 is just as much a Power 5 as the other 4.
Yeah, well, maybe they were supposed to be until everybody started losing.
But I mean, they're only 2-loss. They're a 2-loss champion. So if Stanford wins, they're not in. But if USC wins, I think you can make a case for that. If the shitstorm that we just discussed goes the way that goes.
USC or TCU?
Oh. I say TCU because in the Big 12 championship they beat a team currently in the playoffs.
Let's say if you get one spot for a 2-loss conference champion, Ohio State, USC, TCU. You can pick one who goes.
Wow. I think because Oklahoma beat Ohio State too. That's a tough one. I would say, what do I think the committee's going to do, or what do I think I would do?
Both.
I think the committee would put Ohio State. I'd put TCU.
I think the committee would put Ohio State, and I think they would be correct to do so.
Fair enough.
Because Ohio State will finish their season beating Wisconsin.
Well, so you talking about because they're a playoff team?
I'm talking about like a strength of victory.
Well, TCU will finish their season beating Oklahoma,
who they already lost to once, though. So they split with Oklahoma.
Who lost to Oklahoma? who beat Ohio State?
Well, you talk about who beat who, and then be cyclical like that.
Who played Middle Tennessee one time?
Right.
So,
and again, Western Kentucky's number 1.
Well, right. We've established that. So
Hilltoppers are top of the hill.
Hilltoppers on top of the hill. So let's wrap it up there. Thanks for Rex Charger coming on again. That was a great discussion. I thought we opened up some situations in the playoff that I didn't think about the last 3 weeks. I'm rooting for that now.
This is the first year where the championship Saturday is really going to have a crazy impact on who the top 4 teams are.
Yeah, I really hope it.
I really
hope it doesn't go chalk at this point. I'm rooting for chaos.
And so am I, considering that Ohio State is somehow a 6.5 point favorite. That I don't know how in the world that works. So I am mortgaging the farm on Wisconsin money line, Wisconsin plus the points. I'm going to do both of those for sure.
You can just book it with me. I'll take your money.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyways, well, we'll have to do this again Monday or Tuesday after. Actually, when do they come out? They come out Sunday night. So yeah, Monday or Tuesday. Yeah,
they do that Sunday show. Yeah.
We'll have to come back, sit here at the mics. Anthony will be back from his trip He took a holiday.
The guy's on a trip every week.
I know. He lives the good life, but he's still a Lions fan.
So how much that?
Sucker.
So let's wrap it up there. We'll have to watch the games this weekend, find out, because that'll be fun. You obviously have Week 13 in the NFL. NFL is always a gaggle of laughs. Don't forget, D-Ray will be starting her first. Don't forget, D-Ray will be starting her very own podcast, The Fortress Files. First episode, I believe, is due to come out here very soon.
Yes. We're recording soon.
So tell us a little bit about, obviously we talked about it with VGK hockey, but what are your intentions with this podcast?
Just to basically do weekly rundowns of everything that's going on in VGK history with the team, the community, a lot of fan interaction, hopefully, and just mainly to have fun. That's all it's about, is just fun.
And the Fortress Files podcast will be a part of the Vegas Squares Radio Network, and you can catch that on vegassquares.com. Click the Fortress Files tab to listen to the episodes. So we appreciate her being a part of that family, getting out on her own, having some fun.
Thank you for having me.
Looks like somebody chewed up your microphone there.
That would be Camille.
That would be the dog, yeah. So, without much more to say, I appreciate Rex Charger coming back on. We're going to have him back on next week.
Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, this was fun. For Rex, for D-Ray, I am Aaron, signing out with the Vegas Squares. Another episode. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you in the next one.